Just over a week after the catastrophic July 4th flash flooding that devastated communities across Texas Hill Country, claimed the lives of 132 people, and left more than 170 still missing, the region is now facing another round of severe weather. As if echoing the trauma of that tragic weekend, torrential rains returned to central Texas on Sunday morning, triggering new flash flood emergencies, prompting evacuations, and once again halting critical recovery operations. In Kempner, the Lampasas River rose explosively from just 1.75 feet to over 32 feet by mid-morning, coming within inches of the major flood threshold and further deepening the crisis for a region still reeling from disaster. Both the Lampasas and San Saba rivers have seen substantial and dangerous water level increases. At Adamsville in San Saba County, the Lampasas River rose by approximately 14 feet within 2 hours early Sunday. These sudden surges were driven by intense rainfall, with localized rates reaching up to 3 inches per hour in some areas. Overall rainfall accumulations exceeded 9 inches in San Saba County, more than 6 inches at Colorado Bend State Park, a popular recreational area now closed due to flooding, and nearly 5.5 inches in Sonora. Other communities, including Eden and Brady, recorded close to 5 inches of rainfall, stretching emergency response resources and compounding the risk for additional flash flooding across the region. In response to the rapidly rising waters and hazardous conditions, Colorado Bend State Park was closed for public safety. Road closures throughout San Saba County were implemented, including several low-water crossings and county roads that became impassable under the floodwaters. Mandatory evacuation orders were issued for residents living in vulnerable locations, especially those south of the San Saba River, east of Highway 16, and north of Wallace Street and Highway 90. Particular attention was paid to homes already damaged by the earlier floods, with emergency personnel conducting door-to-door notifications to ensure residents were informed and could move to higher ground or designated shelters. Kerr County, the epicenter of the July 4th disaster and the hardest-hit region during that period, also faced renewed threats from rising floodwaters on Sunday. Emergency alerts warned residents of increasing water levels along the Guadalupe River, which had surged an extraordinary 26 feet in just 45 minutes during the initial July 4th flooding event. The town of Ingram, situated approximately 6 miles east of Kerrville, reported visible street flooding and expanding pools of standing water resembling swampy conditions, indicating the continuing threat to residential areas and infrastructure. These new flooding conditions have severely disrupted ongoing search and rescue efforts. More than 160 individuals remain unaccounted for following the July 4th floods. And the safety concerns posed by renewed rising waters forced all search teams to evacuate the Guadalupe River corridor on Sunday morning. Local authorities suspended active recovery operations pending stabilization of river levels. Forecast models suggest the river could again rise above flood stage, threatening key infrastructure such as the Highway 39 bridge near Camp Mystic, a site heavily impacted during the previous floods. The flooding threat extended beyond Kerr and San Saba counties. Surrounding counties, including Lampasas, Schleicher, Menard, Kimball, and Sutton, reported rescues and evacuations throughout the day. Multiple county roads and low-water crossings, such as County Roads 3300, 2313, 3384, and 3220 were closed due to high water. Highway 190, which spans the Lampasas River at Kempner, was closely monitored as floodwaters neared the bridge deck, raising concerns about potential structural impact and the safety of motorists. The National Weather Service issued flash flood warnings and flood watches across central Texas, assigning a level 3 out of 4 flood threat rating, signifying a significant probability of widespread and life-threatening flooding. Meteorologists reported that this flooding event stemmed from a stalled upper-level weather system positioned between 2 high-pressure zones, producing persistent, slow-moving storm cells that delivered heavy and repeated rainfall throughout Sunday. Compounding the instability, a secondary, weaker weather system contributed to the erratic atmospheric conditions, fueling ongoing thunderstorm development and further rainfall accumulation. Soil saturation levels in central Texas remain critically high due to the July 4th storms, greatly reducing the ground's ability to absorb additional rain. As a result, heavy precipitation quickly converts to surface runoff, overwhelming creeks, rivers, and drainage infrastructure. Updated forecast guidance warns of localized rainfall totals reaching between 9 and 12 inches in some areas, with rivers such as the Guadalupe expected to rise rapidly and possibly exceed flood stage. Emergency responders across affected counties have taken decisive action to mitigate risk and protect residents. The Kempner Volunteer Fire Department evacuated 2 RV parks and relocated elderly residents living near vulnerable creek beds to safer locations. Law enforcement agencies emphasize the dangers of attempting to cross flooded roadways, reinforcing the critical need for residents to avoid flood-prone areas. In Bosque County, first responders rescued a man trapped in waist-deep water on a submerged bridge, the 3rd rescue at that specific location in just 1 month. Meanwhile, in Sonora, local officials established a temporary shelter at the Civic Center to provide refuge for displaced residents as evacuations continued. One evacuee described their situation. "We are stuck here. There's no way to get out. We can get to high ground real easy, but there's no way to get out of the camp because the roads are washed out. Cherokee Creek is on a tear." Texas Governor Greg Abbott confirmed that multiple rescues had been carried out across several affected counties and emphasized that emergency services remain on heightened alert. State and local agencies continue coordinating response efforts focused on safeguarding residents and mitigating further damage amid this ongoing flood crisis. As the weather system persists, emergency management agencies maintain vigilant monitoring of conditions, preparing for continued flooding and anticipating the complexities of an extended recovery phase. Search and rescue operations are expected to resume as soon as river levels recede and conditions permit safe access. As always, thank you for watching. Stay safe and stay aware.
We are reporting live from Central Texas, where deadly flash floods have claimed dozens of lives overnight. Torrential rain has submerged.
Oh my gosh. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god, dude. No. Oh my god.
The other side of that one right there.
Uh-huh.
The recent flooding in central Texas has resulted in the tragic loss of over 90 lives, making it one of the deadliest natural disasters in the state's recent history. Among the deceased are 28 children, and dozens remain missing as rescue and recovery operations continue. Kerr County sustained the brunt of the devastation, especially at Camp Mystic, a girls' Christian summer camp established in 1926 along the Guadalupe River. The camp suffered heartbreaking losses with 27 confirmed fatalities and 10 campers plus 1 counselor still unaccounted for. A profound figure in this calamity was Dick Eastland, the camp's owner, who lost his life during courageous rescue efforts. Despite the rapidly rising floodwaters, he persisted in evacuating children and ensuring their safety until swept away. His selflessness and bravery embodied the human spirit, confronting overwhelming peril. The flooding began during the early hours of July 4th, when a torrential downpour delivered between 5 and 11 inches of rain over a matter of hours. In the town of Hunt, the Guadalupe River rose approximately 26 feet in just 45 minutes, overwhelming gauges and local infrastructure. Further downstream in Kerrville, water levels neared 29 feet, approaching historic heights last recorded in 1987. Flash flood warnings were issued, but the extreme speed and force of the floodwaters left residents little time to evacuate, exacerbating the toll. Meteorological analysis identified the flood's cause as a stalled mesoscale convective system that drew tropical moisture from remnants of Tropical Storm Barry. A stationary front and an upper-level trough produced repeated storm cells passing over the same areas, a phenomenon known as training. The region's steep, porous limestone terrain accelerated runoff, converting heavy rain into a rapidly moving destructive surge. Such terrain, characterized by thin soil and karst features, limits water absorption, thereby intensifying surface flooding. The flood's physical and economic damage is vast. Roads and bridges across Kerr and neighboring counties were destroyed or blocked by debris. Over 140 bridges and culverts are undergoing structural safety inspections. Several water treatment facilities sustained critical damage, prompting boil water advisories affecting thousands of residents. Power outages impacted more than 20,000 homes, with utility crews working continuously to restore electricity. The projected economic losses are estimated in the hundreds of millions of dollars, significantly affecting agriculture, tourism, and local businesses that form the backbone of the region's economy. Amid the overwhelming destruction, the response of emergency crews and local communities has been extraordinary. Over 400 first responders mobilized swiftly, executing more than 850 rescues within 36 hours. Utilizing boats, helicopters, and drones, rescue teams saved numerous lives despite dangerous conditions. One of the most heroic acts during the devastating floods was that of Julian Ryan, a 27-year-old father from Ingram, Texas. He tragically lost his life while valiantly saving his family. Despite sustaining a severe injury while ensuring their escape, he prioritized their safety before succumbing to his wounds. His selfless courage has been deeply honored by the community as a powerful symbol of bravery amid this disaster. Volunteer groups, faith organizations, and local businesses rapidly organized to provide food, shelter, clothing, and emotional support to displaced residents. The Texas Department of State Health Services deployed mental health professionals to offer counseling and trauma support for survivors and first responders. Recognizing the psychological toll of such disasters, community members worked tirelessly alongside emergency personnel, coordinating debris removal, resource distribution, and logistical support. These collective acts of courage and compassion highlight the resilience and unity sustaining the region in the aftermath of catastrophe. On July 6th, Governor Greg Abbott declared disaster zones across multiple counties and designated a statewide day of mourning. The president issued a federal disaster declaration, activating FEMA and Department of Homeland Security resources and announcing a forthcoming visit to the affected region. The state committed to installing advanced river gauge networks and upgrading radar systems throughout the Hill Country to improve early warning and lead times for flash floods. Texas allocated $9.5 million in funding to enhance flood alert infrastructure and river monitoring, while federal agencies are reviewing emergency staffing, communication systems, and disaster response readiness to address vulnerabilities exposed by this event. Search and recovery efforts continue, with divers and sonar teams scanning debris-choked waterways. Structural engineers are meticulously assessing over 140 bridges and culverts to determine safety and repair priorities. Restoring power and clearing roads remain critical objectives. The rebuilding process is anticipated to last several months. Schools in the region have added grief counselors to support students and families coping with loss and trauma. Researchers at Texas Tech University are analyzing rainfall, terrain, and flood data to refine predictive models aimed at improving future forecasts and emergency preparedness. Camp Mystic's board has announced plans for structural improvements, redesigned evacuation routes, and enhanced floodplain engineering measures based on comprehensive assessments. Counseling services remain available for survivors, campers, staff, and emergency responders. Expressions of condolence have come from leaders worldwide, recognizing the tragedy's profound impact and the community's strength in adversity. A statewide hotline coordinates rebuilding assistance, and volunteers continue mobilizing across affected counties to aid in recovery efforts. This disaster, which has claimed nearly 100 lives, exposes critical gaps in early warning systems, forecasting capacity, and infrastructure resilience in a region vulnerable to flash flooding. Experts note that the frequency and intensity of such extreme rainfall events are consistent with climate change projections. Warmer atmospheric temperatures enable air to hold more moisture, resulting in shorter, more intense storm events. While no single flood can be directly attributed to climate change, this event aligns with scientific predictions for worsening weather extremes in vulnerable areas. Our deepest condolence to the people of Texas and to all those who have lost loved ones in this devastating disaster. May the souls of the departed rest in peace, and may the families and communities affected find strength, healing, and peace in the days ahead. In moments of tragedy like this, it is vital that we come together to support one another and contribute to recovery efforts in every way possible.